Hey, this is Rex, and you're watching the Brick Ninjas. Alright, I just want to say thanks to everybody who watched my last video. It was a really good response. Got a lot of comments, a lot of views. Thank you for watching, and I hope to provide you guys with more good content. Let's go ahead and dig in here. I wanted to say that overwhelmingly the comments and from numerous reviewers that basically everyone's saying that The Last Jedi was kind of a social justice warrior feminist festival of a movie. And that's really, really bothering a lot of people and sitting wrong with them. And I'm seeing this both from male and female commenters. Now, I will say it's pretty plain to see in the film that all the female characters are superior to the male characters, and there's no good development or exposition to even explain it. And to kind of go over what I'm talking about, there's Leia's ability to revive herself in space, which has never been talked about in any previous Star Wars movie, that she has any type of force ability like that. There's Rey's ability to just go to the dark side without having any lasting effects. Her ability to understand the force all of a sudden, and her ability to basically fence or sword fight with, or I should say sword, I should say lightsaber duel with Kylo Ren without any training. And then there's Holdo, who's just kind of belittling and demeaning to Poe for no good reason. And they could have developed her character a little bit more if they wanted to make her like that, but they didn't do that. We're just supposed to accept this kind of stuff. It's pretty crazy to me. All the bad guys are male, and even the good guys are pretty much portrayed as conflicted, inept, impulsive, and just generally flawed. If there is an agenda, which it kind of seems that there is, I would say that it goes all the way back to Luke Skywalker. In this movie, when they reintroduced his character to the audience, the last time we saw him, he was a powerful Jedi with a lot of hope for the future. And now what we're seeing is an emasculated, kind of almost a coward and a hermit who's secluded himself on this island, cut himself off from everything because he doesn't care anymore. And they don't really, even the explanation they give for that is very weak to me. I almost have to wonder, like, when they made this movie, they were like, okay, we really want to show women powerful in this film, and you know what, we can't show any female character getting any help from a male, or especially Luke Skywalker. We've really got to diminish that character. We want to make Rey as powerful as we possibly can. Well, I would have accepted Rey as a powerful character, and really, really powerful, if they would have had Luke be better and train her and, really tap into her force abilities, and then say that she has some kind of lineage we don't know about, or that was maybe suggested in a previous movie or something like that. People would have been totally on for the ride. But the fact that Rey pretty much is a Mary Sue, and if you don't know what a Mary Sue is, it's a flawless character in a film, and it can be any gender, it doesn't matter. It's just a term that is used in cinema to say, oh, this character has no flaws. And Rey doesn't have any flaws, other than maybe she's a little bit gullible with the amount of hope she has. And that's about it. Anyways, moving on. Luke's character is so different now, and I would say, I really want to use the word emasculated, because he doesn't seem like a man in this movie. He's even squeezing milk from the breast of some crazy looking animal. I mean, he's almost like a child. They did a lot of visual stuff with his character to make him as undesirable as possible, and that didn't sit well with audiences at all. All right, I want to touch on a couple other points here. Holdo being as venomous as she could be to Poe Dameron was really ridiculous, and in fact, how some of the females are portrayed in this movie, I think, is really, it does a disservice to feminists and feminism, because feminism is about equality, and like I said earlier, the females in this movie are not equal to the males; they're superior to the males, and like I said, that's a disservice to that cause. If you want to win more people over, and you want to really make an argument, throwing the pendulum the other way, and then just being like, oh, women are just better than men, and men are terrible, I think that's going to cause more problems than you're trying to solve. And I say this, I'm going to say this later, I want to talk about how this movie really does a lot to divide the audience rather than unite them. So like I mentioned, Holdo, but then there's these weird things like Finn and Rose go to some casino planet, and rather than accomplishing their objective, they just wind up freeing these animals that were used for racing, and then they leave behind the children, the slave children on this planet, and that's never explained. Something else, General Leia flying through space like Mary Poppins in a godlike pose, like you see in Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel painting, The Creation of Adam. She's just, ooh, that's never explained. She's just superior. There's no reason for it. She can revive herself, but Luke dies of exhaustion? It doesn't make sense. I would like to add that this movie does more to separate the audience than to unite them. And that's something that the original movies did, is they really functioned on the human condition, things that affect everybody, whether you're a man or a woman, or whatever race. There's just the human factor. And this movie doesn't focus on that. It starts focusing on the female factor and the male factor and this factor and that. And it misses all of that. This is the major flaw of this film, and this is exactly where Disney, Lucasfilm, Rian Johnson, and Kathleen Kennedy fail. The original Star Wars brand was about overcoming evil with dignity and integrity. And I would even say, to some extent, that the Force is kind of a metaphor for dignity and integrity. In that few people have it, and even fewer people have the resolve to master virtue to overcome evil. Luke used his dignity and integrity to defeat Vader and the Emperor. That is the code of the Jedi. Virtue over vice. They were not arrogant. But this film misses that point completely. Now, Disney's been playing damage control. They've been plugging positive critic reviews, which I assume are lobbied. They're even making, it almost seems like, I'm seeing a lot of articles where it's like, oh, the negative score is being manipulated by bots, which makes no sense. I wouldn't spend any money to say this movie sucks, because whoever would be doing that has nothing to gain from it. There's nothing to gain. The only reason people do bad stuff is usually there's some type of gain, and there's no gain to creating bots that write bad reviews. I mean, can you imagine the AI it would take to write? And if you look at the bad reviews, they all say the same thing with different words. But if you look at the positive reviews, they all pretty much say the same thing, almost word for word. Now, there was somebody who, we put up a screenshot of this. Somebody went on Rotten Tomatoes and they counted up all the star scores, and they used Rotten Tomatoes scoring system, and they said that this film really should be about a 37% audience score, not 49%, was where I last saw it. So that's interesting. And something else that I'm seeing is that even celebrities are talking heads, and everybody else is trying to spin the negative audience reactions as being misogynist, chauvinist, or even xenophobic. And this is the argument that even Sony tried to use back when they did Ghostbusters in 2016. And it's a really weak and despicable argument. It's ridiculous. It's like saying, it's like a chef who cooked a meal and wound up giving all his clients or his customers food poisoning. And then rather than saying, okay, I made a mistake, I did something wrong, and learning from it, he just goes, oh, well, those customers, they're no good. They're not connoisseurs. They can't stomach good food. Well, it's just ridiculous. This type of passing the blame onto the audience is terrible, and people should be even more set up about that. It reminds me of a scene from a show I used to watch, Stargate SG-1, which I was a huge fan of. I even got a poster of the movie behind me. This is from episode 200, and this is a character is trying to explain to a producer who's come to the team and said, we want to make a TV show about what you do, so that we can, there's plausible denial if anybody tries to claim that this is a really government thing. We can just point to the TV show. And he's making all these ridiculous ideas and claims and things to do in the show, and they're kind of pointing that out. And there's this one point where one of the characters says, you should be respectful to the audience because they're smart people and they respect quality entertainment. Here, take a look.
What's wrong with it?
The singularity is about to explode?
Yes.
Everything about that statement is wrong.
How exactly is having weapons at maximum going to help the situation?
The audience isn't going to know the difference. They love weapons at maximum.
Never underestimate your audience. They're generally sensitive, intelligent people who respond positively to quality entertainment.
I remember seeing this clip years ago when I was watching the show, and I thought, man, that's so spot on. That is like the best way to explain how people feel about bad media and bad movies and things like that. And it's, a lot of times some of the bad stuff is really just disrespectful to the audience. And Star Wars The Last Jedi is disrespectful to the audience. I mean, like, if you want a perfect example, I think that's the movie. Anyways, moving on. I want to say that American audiences are not misogynist or chauvinist. Star Wars fans are a smart and diverse group of people. They enjoy good characters and good storytelling, regardless of gender or race. In fact, most of the characters in Star Wars are aliens. I don't know if you noticed that, but American audiences have embraced and cheered for countless strong female characters since the beginning of Tinseltown and cinema. Examples would be Gone with the Wind, The Wizard of Oz, The Sound of Music, Alien, Star Wars, reference itself, A Color Purple, Terminator 2, Terminator 1, The Fifth Element, Resident Evil, Tomb Raider, Salt, Wanted, Kill Bill, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Hunger Games, Wonder Woman. I mean, I could go on and on. There is no shortage of strong female characters that audiences have loved since the dawn of cinema. And even video games have some great female characters that have done very well. Zelda, Tomb Raider, I've mentioned Resident Evil, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat. I mean, the list could go on. So your audiences have no problem with strong female characters or even superior female characters when they're developed correctly. Audiences have problem with bad storytelling, poorly written scripts, and just plain old bad movies. Now, something to note too is that Star Wars The Last Jedi even bombed in China. It only made like $28 million its opening weekend. The following weekend, it only made $700,000 more. Now, it's gone up 10 more million since then, which is a little surprising to me. If it did so bad opening weekend and even worse the second weekend, and then jumped way up since then. But Disney has been kind of playing some damage control with that, and a lot of articles are trying to say, well, Star Wars was never that popular in China. The Force Awakens didn't do that good, neither did Rogue One. This movie is just doing slightly worse than that. And that's not true at all. If you go back and you look at Box Office Mojo, The Force Awakens made $125 million in China over the course of its release, and Rogue One made $70 million, and that did pretty well too. And it's like twice of what The Last Jedi made. So yeah, The Last Jedi did bomb in China, and I don't see it getting much better. I don't see it doing much better at all. In fact, I was surprised today when I looked at Box Office Mojo to see where it was at compared to some other past movies. The Last Jedi is stalled at $595 million, between that and $600 million. And I see it going a little bit above $600 million, but I don't think this movie is going to last in theaters past, I think it'll be out of theaters by Valentine's Day. Be surprised if it lasts that long, and if it makes it to the end of February. I don't think it's going to stay in theaters very long. So what does this all say about the future of Disney, Lucasfilm, and Star Wars? Well, I don't think that there's going to be any course correction. I don't think there's going to be anyone's going to admit that the movie's bad. It'll be years before that ever happens. I don't see any heads rolling other than maybe Rian Johnson doesn't get the trilogy they promised him. They'll probably give it to somebody else if they can find somebody else who's willing to take on this. I don't see Kathleen Kennedy, anything happening to her. I think she'll stay where she is. They're probably not going to put as much money into the next movie and just try to make as much back as they can. I've heard that estimates for The Last Jedi, the cost of production was between $700 and $800 million, which is insane for a movie. I'd be surprised if that's even true, but if it is, they're not going to put much money in the next one because they want to make their money back from this. I mean, they've already made it back. They're sitting at like $1.2 billion, but I don't see it going much higher than that. Anyways, I don't see them making any corrections. I don't see them doing anything different. I don't see any heads rolling. And I think they're just going to steam right on ahead. I think they're going to keep Rey a Mary Sue. They're going to make her nobody. And they're going to try to do this whole forces for everybody thing. And I don't see what you can do with Star Wars if that's the case, because that's kind of what Star Wars rests on, like I said, is the ability to have this power and have great integrity and dignity to use it properly, and to fight for the underdogs and fight for the people who can't fight for themselves. So that's what I see happening. Other than that, what did you think? Do you agree that The Last Jedi is basically like a kind of a political statement wrapped up in a Star Wars movie, as I've heard some people call it? I'd like to hear your opinions on that. Also, what do you guys think I should do next? I just watched Blade Runner 2049 for like the third time. I really, really like that movie. Or Rogue One, I really like that movie. Somebody was suggesting in some of the comments I saw that I should review past Star Wars movies. If you think that, go ahead and leave a comment about that, or think if there's something you think I should check out, let me know. Again, I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you very much. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, because I'm always putting up stuff on there about what we're doing next or things I'm checking out. And I would like to know your opinion. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.